Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyon, your host, lead machine coach, and the founder of the Lead Machine Marketing Group and Mastermind. And I'm dedicated to helping you tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream. So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, let's get this conversation with me started. So today we've hit a milestone, and I'm very proud to say that today we're celebrating 100 episodes of the Lead Machine Growth Show. And as a special gift to you and to the mentors and to the guests who've been on the show, we're going to reflect on the episodes and the mentors who changed everything for me, the podcast, my business, and my life. So let's dive in. So reaching 100 episodes is a big milestone, but I didn't start out with a big vision. It started out with a simple truth. I saw entrepreneurs struggling, not just with tech, but messaging and automation and growth. And I had been helping them for 40 plus years in IT and marketing, but I knew I could help those people because of my vast experience, but I had my own barriers to break through. And that's how this journey began. So seeing entrepreneurs struggle always bothered me. They struggle with the how. They had the passion, the vision, and they knew what the result was usually, but they didn't know how to articulate it, and they certainly did not know how to implement it. And that's where I came in. Systems and marketing and automation and people, process, and technology. They all have to work together. And to scale your business, they have to be running like a lead machine. I also had my own struggle with visibility. As a drummer and a musician, I've always been behind the drum set, never out in front with the mic as the leader of the band, but always with other leaders. And so that was also there was another problem. I was a full-time worker. And I had really some fears of being visible and maybe jeopardizing my job. So the push came from Adam Hommey, who's a great friend of mine, and more on him later. But he said, "Why aren't you podcasting?" And then he said, podcasting is a client attraction, networking, and authority building system. And the minute he said system, I was hooked, but I was still afraid. So why we created the show was to bring in experts who I could interview and teach me things that I didn't know that I wanted to share with my audience. And of course, teach the audience things that they didn't know. And to get out of my own way and step into building my own authority so I could attract more business, more clients to my lead machine marketing group. And also to deliver a value in a way that just another webinar or email marketing couldn't do. And it was to put my face out there. So as you can see in this picture here, this is my studio. That's my bookshelf, and it's in my basement. I started out with an audio only podcast and found out that I, excuse me, found out that I needed to move to video. Also, getting guests was a struggle too. Fortunately, I had a powerful inner circle. So my first few, maybe 10 episodes were with some fabulous guests and whom you're going to meet in a little bit here. It was easy to get the first 10, but I had to put myself out there to get more guests. And so that was something I had to learn how to do. So my setup was simple, and I was just finding my voice. The object was to interview experts, get out of my own way, and deliver value. So, lessons learned since episode one. Number one, momentum. It's built one episode at a time. One episode kind of builds on another. And when I did first start out, it was more of whoever I could get. It wasn't always a specific topic. But as I got my sea legs, so to speak, I was able to say, okay, I want these kinds of experts because number one, I know that I know how to build lead machines, and once you get into my world, I can convert you, take your information and have systems and funnels and things that take. But I also wanted to know how to optimize that, optimize lead pages and funnels, but I also wanted to learn how to attract people. So we had people on talking about how to generate leads in social media, on YouTube, and using direct mail in all kinds of ways. Those things that I didn't know how to do, I wanted to bring those experts on. So as we started to get our sea legs, that started to happen more often. And then also one thing that Adam told me is as my mentor, my most important listener was my guest. And so I wasn't worried about the vanity metrics and downloads and engagements and things like that. I didn't pay attention to that. I was more focused on getting value, giving value, getting value, and having a really deep conversation, which is another thing that I learned from my mentors, is that the best conversations come out when they're led by curiosity. So it's easy to go from one question or scripted question to another. But when someone talks about maybe something that happened that sparked their innovation, and that's not on your list, really, it should be, but it's not, and they say something, you can go down that rabbit hole. And that leads to some discoveries and some really good discussions. So, and of course, the right people make all the difference. One of my guests, and I won't say his name, didn't really have a lot of value and hadn't been on podcasts very much. And so I've only not recorded or published one episode, and that's someday I may publish it. But the lesson I learned from that was, okay, it's my show. I get to do, and I get to have the guests I want on. I can have them, I can decide whether or not they're going to get published. And I have values. I don't use profanity. I want to have value for everyone involved. I want my guests to have a good experience. I want you to have a good experience. And I want to have a good experience. It has to be fun for me and interesting. So not every guest gets to be on the show. Okay. So the right people make all the difference. So how the show evolved, as I just said, we started to get better interviews when we got more intentional about getting interviews, and started to do networking. And I met Michael Whitehouse, who exposed me to his network, and his way of networking was really, really genuine. And he exposed me to his group, and I got some guests there. And so I started being a lot more intentional about getting guests. And another thing I did was, as I grew, I had some guests who were experts in putting on podcasts and have expertise in gear. And so I got more upgraded gear. I've got a better look. My workflow improved. Lighting and cameras improved. And I also started to lean on AI assisted editing, which is a game changer for me. And I'll do a solo episode on how I use AI to use to develop content, and I'm going to transcribe this episode using a GPT that I created that'll help me produce my show notes very quickly. So what used to take hours takes a few minutes, and so it's not a few minutes, but not 4 or 5 hours. It's an hour or so, and I got more confidence as I interviewed people and saw how confident they are, and sometimes some of them weren't as confident as I, and just having good conversations really, really helped. So I learned my voice, not just literally, but in knowing this show has real impact. And my guests, were real happy with how things turned out. So instead of recapping all 100 episodes, which wouldn't be possible and I'd love to do that. There are so many guests that I would love to have and put a spotlight on, like Jan Burrow, who suffered a stroke, and she came back from that, and she became a coach, helping other people cope the way that she did. And there's a lot of heroes out there that are doing great things in the world, and they've been on my show. So instead, what I decided to do was highlight 10 conversations that truly changed everything for me, from my business and the listeners who tuned in. So let's get started with that. Kicking off the 100th episode special, the 10 guests who changed everything, we start with number 10 in our countdown, featuring Shannon Procise. She's an expert in publicity and getting free publicity to build authority and to get yourself out there, expand your reach, all the things you would expect with media coverage. And without spending a dime, though, you got to tune into this lesson. You can do that at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Shannon. That's with two N's, dash Procise, Procise. And so I first met her in 2015 when we hired her to do PR for the Ultimate Mastermind Summit. We hired her and she delivered big time. Her strategy not only got massive buzz, but it attracted a nonprofit that we partnered with, and we raised a bunch of money for them, and we got exposed to their network, and we've become lifelong friends after that. And that experience showed me how well executed publicity, which is why I brought her on the show, how that works. So publicity isn't about luck. It's about positioning yourself as a valuable resource for the media. And again, you can check this episode out at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Shannon-Procise. And that's Shannon with two N's for those who are listening. And obviously, if you're on YouTube watching this, you can see the URL right on the screen. Also, I will link all of these links and these in the show notes on the Lead Machine Growth Show episode page. Continuing. And the word I said, continuing, reminded me of my buddy Tony Rubleski. He wrote a book called So You Want to Write a Book. And that's what this latest interview, I've had him on the show a few times, but Tony and I go way back. And back to 2004, actually. He was the first marketer and speaker I saw that seamlessly blended direct response and brand marketing. I was really intrigued by that. It's a rare skill that makes mind capture work so powerful. And he is the president of Mind Capture Group. And over the years, we've worked together on masterminds, live events like the Think and Grow Rich Summit, and now 2 podcast episodes. I've been in his books. I've been in the hot seat. I helped him with his boot camps, and he and I have been friends for a long time. So in this episode, we break down his latest book called So You Want to Write a Book, and how to get off your ass and get it done. And he says the biggest hurdle in writing a book isn't talent, it's discipline. Tony breaks down how small, consistent deadlines and a clear strategy can take you from idea to published author. He also dispels the biggest myths that stop people from getting started, which is totally in that episode. So if you've ever wanted to write a book but felt overwhelmed, check out this book and check out this episode. You can check out that book, by the way, on Amazon. And it's a little book. You can read it in a weekend and get started. And you can check out his episode at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Tony-Rubleski-02. And that's Rubleski, Tony Rubleski. All right, Tony, brother, thanks for being on the show. Coming in at number 8 is my friend, Fran Asaro, how to optimize your YouTube channel. I met her at Shannon Procise's mastermind and was immediately intrigued. She had a skill I'd struggled with, optimizing YouTube channels, or just understanding it, how it all works, or how to make it work. And since I was publishing all of my episodes on YouTube, I needed to know more. And she, she kind of busted me because I wasn't doing any of the things that she teaches. So, and the cool thing was we had great banter and we connected right away. And I quickly saw that she was the go-to expert in this space, especially for people like me who are just getting started. And she's really great at simplifying how to make your channel grow, how to make money on your channel. And she's been doing it for a long time. And she teaches, and she's got a great community called seniortuber.com. You should check that out. And this is probably one of the most listened to episodes, or at least my guests who come on the show refer to this episode quite often and say, oh yeah, that one on the YouTube thing, that was great. So Shannon says, or Fran rather says, YouTube isn't just about uploading videos. It's about creating a system that attracts the right audience, keeps them engaged and entertained, and turns casual viewers into raving fans who spend money. And if you've got raving fans on your YouTube channel, you can sell them things. You can earn advertising dollars, or you can sell your wares, your signature products. So why you should revisit this episode? Well, if you're looking to grow your business and your brand on YouTube, you should really check her out because she can help you get started. She makes it simple, yet she gives everything away free. And of course, she has paid programs too, but she gives a lot of value and she's out there. So, and you can trust her. So listen into her episode at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Fran-Asaro. That's Asaro. All right, continuing on to number 7. Dave Sanderson, Limitless, creating opportunity from uncertainty. I don't know if you've ever heard about the miracle on the Hudson. It was U.S. Airways Flight 1549 that had a bird strike in both engines, lost both engines at I think 1,500 feet, just after takeoff. And Sullivan was the pilot. And Dave breaks down the story of how this all went down step by step, minute by minute. And it's very intriguing. He was the last passenger off of that flight. He heard a little bird, or not a little bird, a little voice in his head that was his mother. And she said, if you do the right thing, God will help you. And that's when he knew, I'm in seat 15. I can just go up and out, up and out, up and out, up to the left, up and out. And so many miracles happened on that day. But the miracle was him. The hero was him. In addition to Sullivan, who skillfully landed that plane and no one was killed. But Dave stayed on board and helped all the passengers off. I first met Dave when we invited him to speak at one of our masterminds. And then he came to Traverse City, and that we met in person, and he was speaking about resilience and the power of taking challenges and turning them into opportunities. And so we connected immediately. I just love the guy, and he needed a ride to the airport, so I took him to the airport, and we became fast friends. And he's just an amazing guy. So, and he says crisis isn't just something to endure. And really, we should take that into heart. It's something that can shape you into a stronger, more resilient person. Dave teaches how to reframe adversity, finding a meaning in difficult moments, and use setbacks as fuel for success. And so if you've ever faced hardships like all of us have in business or life, his mindset shifts will help you navigate uncertainty and emerge stronger. His story is proof that even the worst circumstances, you have the power to create something greater. And why you should revisit this thing, if you, like you said, go to leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Dave-Sanderson. And that's Sanderson for those who are listening in. All right, continuing. Number 6, Jeff Schiefelbein, Making Business Human. Now, I didn't really know Jeff before I had him on the show. I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, always searching for truth, faith, and insights on business and relationships and new technology and marketing. And I stumbled on this Catholic speaker list and thought, what does faith have to do with business? And I happen to know a lot about that. And then I found a speaker who specialized in it. So I didn't know him before I met him on the show, but his message hit home with me, and that's why he's in this. I believe, and he believes, that when you grow a business, you should reflect the values that you embody, and you want to treat your customers, your employees, your contractors, your vendors with dignity, like the golden rule. Treat others like you'd like to be treated yourself, and with your core values, you can really hit home runs, and use that in your decision making and growing your business. As you grow businesses, a lot of times, the as you get more people, those values always um, aren't honored. So a company's mission is what Jeff says, should serve the common good, positively impacting customers, employees, vendors, and stakeholders alike. His story is a perspective on leaving a lasting impression. He says a thriving business isn't just about maximizing revenue, it's about creating a workplace culture that balances purpose with profitability. And I couldn't agree more. And so if you're looking for ways to build a company that not only makes money, but also makes an impact and preserves your values and your morals, his insights will show you how. So his faith-driven, people-first approach to leadership is one that more businesses and leaders need to hear. Check this episode out at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Jeff dash Schiefelbein. And I'm probably slaying your name, Jeff. I'm sorry. It's Schieffelbein. Okay, continuing on to number 5, who's my buddy. What can I say about Jim Palmer? He's not just a mentor, he's a friend, fellow believer, and he's also my business coach. So I first met him on a webinar about newsletters, which directly inspired me to create my first food rescue newsletter, which I've written about in my own email newsletters. Since then, we've shared mastermind seats, spoken at each other's events, and built a solid friendship. He taught me that business isn't just about location, it's about value. His serve first philosophy resonates very deeply with me, and his success speaks for itself. He's an amazing captain, Jim Palmer. And that's exactly why, not because he's a captain, but his success and just his way of doing business is why he's my business coach. So he's, like I said, he's been instrumental in my journey. And if you've ever wanted to build a business that gives true freedom, you should listen to this episode. So you can check his episode out at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/capt Jim Palmer. That's capt for captain dash Jim Palmer, Palmer. And, Jim has also influenced how I interview people and how I conduct my show. He's a no nonsense. I'm probably more techie and all that. He'll do his podcast from the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, I think, and he has. But he's given me lots of advice, and I've been watching him for years and years, developing his $1 million platform and his dream business academy. So check Jim Palmer out. He's a great guy. Love you, Jim. All right. So we've covered the first 6 of 10, and I have to stop here and acknowledge behind every success is a group of people who push you to be better. These 4 mentors didn't just help me shape my podcast, they helped me shape my business, confidence, and ability to show up consistently. Each of them played a pivotal role in helping me break through limitations, and I want to share how they did it. Oh, and it's Adam Hommey, top left, Kristin Maxwell, Brad Szollose, and Pamela Dale. All right, coming in at number 4, Adam Hommey, the push to start podcasting. Podcasting isn't just content, it's connections. Start before you feel ready. And that's what he did, and he pushed me. So Adam's push to start a podcast was nothing like I expected. I assumed podcasting was all about creating content and growing an audience, But Adam reframed it completely. He told me podcasting is a client attraction, networking, and authority building system. And that stuck with me, just like I said at the top of the show. I was on his show when he first started he'd been podcasting for 10 years, 10 or 12 or 15 years. He's been doing it for a long time. And he had me on his show and I showed up and I was off to the side of the camera. I was not ready to be on a podcast, but he asked me some questions and I answered them and he said, "Well, why aren't you podcasting?" And that was 2.5, 3 years ago. And so about 18 months later, he emailed me up and said, "Hey, why aren't you podcasting yet?" And I ran through every excuse I could think of. I didn't have time. How am I going to get guests? What are the logistics? I got a new wife, you know. But the truth was I was hesitating because I wasn't sure I was ready. So his confidence in me overrode my self-doubt. He had so much confidence that you're a natural. Done is better than perfect. Just start. So I still had some time to think about it. And how he changed my mindset was instead of chasing an audience, I saw the power of building relationships through podcasting, which I mentioned earlier. I tried other things like groups and just word of mouth and using other people's audiences and my experiences with Tony Rubleski, and we had a mastermind group for many years in coaching, but it just wasn't growing and I wasn't networking. And there was a couple of reasons why, which we'll get to. So that was the catalyst that said, maybe I should start a podcast. So check out that. And this is one of the first episodes on the Lead Machine Growth Show. Check it out at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Adam-Hommey. And that's Hommey. And again, all of these links will be in the show notes, so you can check them out there later. And so we're counting down the top 10 episodes and guests that had an influence. And my mentors, these last 4 people are my mentors who really pushed and helped me start podcasting as well as impact and change my business. Continuing on to number 3, and here, this is a real changer for me. Breaking through visibility fears. Fear of visibility is just fear of judgment. Own your expertise, step into your authority, and stop waiting for permission. And this is exactly what I was doing. Kristin played a role in helping me break through one of my biggest barriers, fear of visibility. I've been helping businesses for years behind the scenes, but when it came to putting myself out there, I hesitated. Even though I was a drummer in a rock and roll band, I was still behind a drum set. So, and this is how she challenged me. She said she was also one of my first Lead Machine clients, which was an honor to have her on, but it was eye-opening because I thought she was way more successful than I was. And during a conversation, she asked me one simple but powerful question: why aren't you more visible? And I made lots of excuses. A full-time job. I was afraid of the impact it might have of my business. Might I lose my business? Am I good enough? Lots of things like that. And really, it was just fear of judgment, just like she says. And then later on, she coached me the real reasons behind my hesitation. And this goes back to my childhood. I remember how much I loved my dad. I looked up to him, and he had a stroke when I was about 5. And I remember walking around the block with him while he was rehabilitating, and was just really looked up to him. But I was the youngest of 5 boys, and I was always seeking his approval. After his stroke, he was kind of an absentee dad because he had to go to school and learn a different skill because he was a doctor, a medical doctor, a general practitioner, and he moved into physical medicine. So he wasn't there all the time. So I kind of just latched onto my neighbor, Mr. Cedar, who became my idol because he was a self-made man. And that's what I wanted to be, a self-made man. Uh, so through the years, I realized, and through Kristin's, um, we had a session, and I found out, and I broke down in tears because I realized that I desperately wanted my father's approval, and I was afraid of judgment. And it wasn't until his deathbed, uh, and just before he died, that we finally reconciled, and I finally got his approval. But I knew he always loved me, but seeking judgment or being afraid of judgment and seeking approval was the root cause of my fears. And so knowing that, that was a super breakdown, super breakthrough for me. And thank you, Kristin, for that. I'm just so grateful, grateful for that hour that you spent with me. And it was hard. It was hard for me to admit that to you because we didn't know each other that well, but you're really good at what you do. So thank you so much. You can check out not our personal conversation, but you can check out the episode where I interview her about breaking through visibility fears. And some of those things come up in that interview. So, but they aren't as personal as that session was. So check out that episode at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Kristin dash Maxwell. And that's Kristin dash Maxwell with two L's. All right, continuing. My buddy, Brad Szollose, the master of storytelling. Brad, well, first of all, he says the best way to teach, persuade, and connect is through storytelling. Totally true. Facts inform, stories inspire. I first saw Brad speak in 2011. He opened his talk with two props, a Viewmaster in one hand and a game controller in the other, illustrating the generational gap and how we learn. So I'm a baby boomer, and he's kind of on the cusp. He's a little younger than I am, but there's this Gen Z and Gen X and X, Y, and Z. There's this young group of kids that grew up with games. They had a controller in their hand when they're toddlers, and the way that they navigate through life is totally different than how us boomers came up, where you had to work hard and earn your way and go up the ladder and all this stuff. Well, they knew all they had to do was beat this first level and get to the next level. They could jump to the CEO spot from zero to that. And so they think differently, but Brad showed how he can bridge that gap and how we can work together. So his brilliance is his ability to capture attention through storytelling, and those two props and that generational gap talk just made an impact on me. But I never saw myself as a storyteller, but I've always been telling stories. So a turning point was during a webinar. We were promoting the Think and Grow Rich Summit in 2013 with Tony Rubleski and Jim Palmer, and we had 20 speakers at that event, some really high level speakers. And Brad told me that something that really stuck. Paul, you're a great storyteller. You need to lean into that. I went, wow, really? And so I started using stories, and I had to learn how to connect because I had always focused on facts, strategies, and data. But Brad helped me realize that my stories were what truly connected with people. And if I could connect my message with the facts and everything else that I was familiar with, and the systems and the way that I think about systems, but putting them into a story form will really have helped me gain approval and capture the attention of my audience. That's what I'm trying to say. So check out the episode with Brad Szollose at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Brad Szollose 02, because he's been on the show twice too. And that's SZOLLOSE Szollose-02. So Brad-Szollose-02. That's how you find that. The best way to teach and persuade is to connect through storytelling. Facts inform, stories inspire. Continuing on, and this lady is an amazing, I've mislabeled, I apologize so much. Pamela Dale, not Kristin Maxwell. I copied this slide to make the next slide, and I'm sorry that I didn't notice that. So this is Pamela Dale, breaking through visibility. No, it's not visibility fears, it's transforming business. We had a show about tripling, 3xing your business and how she did it. So let's see if we got the rest of this slide right. Scaling isn't about doing more, it's about simplifying, automating, and leveraging the right systems. Perfect. So I found Pamela on a podcast, guests.com, and I was looking for guests, and I got about 30 then, 30 in like a week. It was amazing. And in her pitch to me, and her response to me was, lead machines? I love lead machines. I'd be great for your show. So that confidence stood out for me. And when we had our interview, her systems-based approach to automation blew me away. I'm going, wow, this lady's smart, smarter than me. And that's okay. So before meeting Pamela, and this is a lot of this happened after the show, but we were talking about using software and template-based systems and all-in-one platforms and having snapshots and things that you teach built into them so that when you get a new client, all you need to do is give them your snapshot, onboard them, and show them how to use it, and then they can be on their way. And then they'll be paying you on a monthly basis. And that's just an awesome subscription model. People are familiar with subscriptions. You can do it with software. Of course, you probably have software as service through Netflix or through Amazon Prime or anything like that. But you can do it with software for business too. So a lot of people have calendar apps, and that's software as service. So in my business, I had a lead machine program. I had a lead machine mastermind group. And before meeting Pamela, I was doing one-off projects and custom builds. So every new client I had, I'd be building things from scratch. And of course, I'd be using things that I'd done before as templates, but each one was different. Each one was different. So it's a tough way to scale that way. So she introduced me to Go High Level, and her vision for how I could streamline my business just clicked. And so instead of building different systems for every client, I can create repeatable, scalable frameworks like my speed framework, which I'll talk about, and my mass framework and my SAM framework. I can build those right into the platform as templates and as automations that are automatically plugged in when I get a new client. So instead of doing it one-offs, I could build scalable frameworks that work across the board. So you're going to want to check this episode out. She's funny, she's smart, she's sharp-witted, and yeah, you got to check her out. And she's very, very generous with her time and with her expertise. So she didn't just change my business, how I ran it. She changed the entire trajectory of it. So that's when I launched the Lead Machine Marketing Group. So I went from basically a freelancer to a service-based consulting with a scalable software as service automation platform that I call Leo. And so check out that episode, Transforming the Business Triple X Your Business, at the Lead Machine at leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Pamela Dale, Pamela-Dale. So again, that's leadmachinegrowthshow.com/Pamela-Dale. So that's the countdown of the 10 episodes and conversations that made a huge difference in not only my podcast growth and in my business, like through Pamela Dale. What's coming up next? So what did I learn? So Being consistent. I publish every Wednesday, 2:01 a.m. Being consistent is super important. And I do have a structure for my show, and it's changed over the time over the years. I've removed some of the commercials and things like that. We're just kind of distracted and weren't really being effective. So I'm reworking those things in the future. I'm changing the structures of my show. But oh, wait a minute, what else did I learn before I go there? Start the timer. Did I do that today? Nope. I didn't start the timer, but I hit record. Be yourself. And most importantly, be curious, have fun, add value, and plant seeds. All of those things are things that I've learned through these amazing guests that I've had on the show. And I appreciate all the inspiration. So what's next? More solo deep dives into how to do specific things, some strategies, some frameworks, some tactics, and some demonstrations on. I'm really heavily gotten into AI, so I'll show you how to use AI to answer the phone for you and book appointments, or to generate content that's human. I'll do some behind the scenes stuff. I'll show you my gear if you're interested, because I'd love to hear what you are interested in. So, and of course, more fabulous guests. And so just make sure you don't miss another episode. Subscribe and leave a review on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. You can go to leadmachinegrowthshow.com/subscribe. And then I'd just like to also a huge thank to my listeners, guests, and mentors, and the 89 guests who blessed the Lead Machine Growth Show, their genius insights and inspiration that I wasn't able to highlight today. But thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much, and I'm grateful for you. And this show wouldn't exist without you. And I would be very remiss if I didn't thank my wife, Sharon, who inspires me, cheers me on, challenges me, loves me unconditionally. I love you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening and tuning into this special episode of the Lead Machine Growth Show, where we're celebrating 100 episodes. This is episode 100, but we're highlighting the top 10 conversations that I had and the mentors that have inspired me and helped me to get my show up and running. And here's to the next 100 episodes. I'm looking forward to what's coming. And remember, faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal to the metal. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyon. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyon, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.